Hi everyone, so video number 3 for visiting hour for National 5 and higher, and we're just going to have a quick look today at stanzas 4, 5 and 6 so that you have sort of been guided through them. You've got a set of introductory questions that can get you started on doing some more detailed analysis a little bit later on. So, first of all, stanza 4. If you watched the previous video, then the question that kept coming up was the mental state of the speaker. Now that is still going to be in your head because that is still one of the major focuses of the text. But here, something I think that's worth focusing on for you when you're reading through it is this thing about the description of the nurses. Okay, there are two or three different features of that description, and it's worth looking at in a bit of detail and trying to kind of like pick out individual parts about how they're being described. What can you tell about the nurses, or what can you tell about the way in which the speaker views the nurses from what's been written in this stanza? And then in the sort of second part of the stanza here, there's a bit of repetition being used that I'm sure you can see. It's to emphasize something. So what's being emphasized and how is that being emphasized overall across the whole stanza? Again, is it particular fears or feelings or reactions or thoughts, whatever you think it happens to be. So what's being emphasized and how is the speaker doing that at that stage? When we get to stanza 5, it's worth having a thought in your head about whether or not, or how extreme perhaps the change of focus is at this point in the poem. So if you read it through and you read, stanzas 1 to 4, and then you come to stanza 5 and see it as, is there something happening, something changing here? I think you should be able to read the contents of that stanza and start to understand what it is that's going on here in terms of the poem, how the poem has changed, for example, particularly in what it focuses on. And then you can start thinking, because we're probably at that stage now where you can start looking at some kind of particular features that are used in this stanza which make the descriptions in it so effective. So you can look, are there maybe individual words or little sentences, just little touches here and there that you think really add to the impact of this stanza and really add to the impact of that change in focus, whatever it is you've decided that focus is on. And then the final stanza, so it's a little bit shorter obviously than stanza 5, and we're back to these questions about the mental and emotional state of the speaker. How does the speaker feel? What are they thinking? How are they coping as well, as you can see there? And then this being the end of the poem and also the end of the visit, we need to ask ourselves, we've been asking all the way through, we asked how he was feeling at the start and how he was on what he was thinking, what he was focusing on, what he was sort of preoccupied with. We asked how he was coping at stanza 3. We then saw kind of a change in focus in stanza 5, but we seem to be back to this now. So we're asking again, how is he coping again at this stage, and how does he feel now at the end of not just the poem, but at the end of the visit? And how can you tell that's how he feels? Okay, so that's visiting hour. That's we've had a look at the poem overall. We've had a look at each of the stanzas. You should have a series of questions now that you can use from this video and the previous two, and that should get you prepared for doing some more sort of detailed line by line stuff a bit later on in terms of analysing visiting hour. So any issues, any problems, then do give me a shout, and obviously we'll be discussing this in our small group tutorials as well.